so there was a TV show, The Umbrella Academy. Did you hear about that? It was
I
on
don't think I did,
Netflix.
actually. No.
It's based on a comic book, and I watched the first series, and it kind of got me in because there's a character in it that's a monkey, but it
Okay.
talks.
Hmm.
Yeah, it talks, and it walks around, it wears clothes, never explained, and I loved that. For a second, I was like, oh, we've got to the point now where everyone's so used to comic books that you can put a character in and not care
Yeah.
that people go like, wait, that's a talking monkey.
Yeah.
Like, why is that a talking monkey?
Yeah.
And that kind of hooked me a little bit, and then I watched all of it. But Elliot Page is in it. But Elliot Page was started off, hadn't transitioned in the first two series.
Hmm.
So when the third series came out, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, because obviously they're going to have them be Elliot Page, because they're now not going to be playing female characters anymore, because they're not female. And I thought that's really interesting. I wonder how they'll tackle it, because it's quite an unusual show and it's very satirical and stuff like that. So I wondered how they were going to tackle it. So I watched the first episode, and I was so disappointed of how heavy-handed they dealt with it. They had a moment where he goes and has his hair cut, and then they come back, and then someone refers to them as the character's female name, and they correct them, and they go, what do you mean? And then they go, is this a problem? And there's this kind of weird moment of like, and they go, no, it's not a problem. And then there's another moment where she has a full conversation with he has a full conversation with somebody about it and why it. And I was like, this would have been so much better if you'd have just gone to the table and they would go like, oh, you've got your hair, or they'd have gone to them and they were like, yeah, I'm a man.
Yeah.
Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. Move on.
Yeah.
Because that would have been so much more progressive in my mind.
Yeah.
To be like, because that's how we should deal with it in life. In
Casually.
Life, we shouldn't be like, you're what? Explain it to me a bit more. How's it going? And how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it now? And I'm not saying don't be emotional and allow, if you've got a friend who transitions, be emotional and be there for them.
Yeah.
But in a day-to-day thing, you should be like, oh, I didn't know that about you. Crack on.
Yeah,
I'm now going to use male pronouns.
Yeah.
If I've known you my entire life, I might slip up because you have muscle memory in your mouth.
Yeah.
Please forgive me those moments. Know that there's no malice in those moments. But from now on, let's move on. You are now this person. I'm not going to treat you any differently than I treated you before.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And I wanted to do that. And I just felt that was so an example of like, we need to address this.
Yeah.
But let's be as compassionate. Let's make this a moment for the audience. And I was like, I think that's
condescending.
Really. Yeah, it condescends to me. And I'm obviously, Elliot Page wanted it to be that way, so that's their wish, and that's great. So they don't feel like it's condescending to them.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was condescending to the trans community, in my opinion. But again, I'm not trans.
Yeah.
But I just felt like, I would imagine that 90% of the trans community just want to be the gender they have now assigned to, and just want to get on with their lives and live their lives day to day. 90% of them are not actors, they're not famous, they're not celebrities.
No.
They're waiters, plumbers, doctors. And my doctor when I used to live in Rutland was a transgender woman.
Yeah.
Way before Kylie Jenner. Is it Kylie Jenner? No.
Caitlyn, isn't it?
Caitlyn. Is it Caitlyn? Caitlyn Jenner. I hate the Kardashians, so I don't really pay attention to their names. But way before they put, it's like, oh, I do that South Park thing of like, I more remember that you killed someone with your car.
Yeah, exactly. I remember. A woman.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like, they're the people that I care about. Those people, that the real people who are out there, and I just felt like that was a disservice to them.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to make sure that the audience wasn't going to they were worried about internet pushback, I would assume.
Yeah.
So they wanted to be like, we're going to give this a moment, and then through the whole episode they kept coming back to it. Then there was 3 separate conversations about the person transitioning into male, and I just thought that was so heavy-handed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Elliot Page, and always loved you because I love Juno and I love a lot of the films that he's been in. But I can only imagine, and I've not seen The Umbrella Academy, so I could be way off. I can only imagine that Elliot Page's perception of the public is skewed by the internet trolls and the pushback against the transgender community, because it's so absurd when you hear it. You just think, what is the problem? I mean, granted, I make the mistake because I have a friend or a former friend, sadly, who is the pronouns are they, them. And I always struggled getting they, them correct. And I tried to use a device in my head to make sure that I saw them as a they, them, instead of as any specific pronoun, male or female. But they were very understanding, because they said that not only is it, it's not he or she, basically. So they understood that it makes it more difficult to almost assign a plural to a singular. But that's not a big deal as far as accepting that's who the person is. It's just tricky because of how ingrained it is to assign someone with a singular pronoun as what we consider to be a plural. But they, them isn't a plural necessarily, because you could say someone's at the door and you could say, what do they want?
Yeah.
So it's they, them could be singular. But it's just a weird thing for you to
I think that I mean, not to get too big, but I think the biggest problem is just people. We need to live in a world where people know intent. That's my big thing. Is just like intent is important. Absolutely. Like, you can't say that words matter, but intent matters more. Absolutely. Like, if you should know the difference between a friend getting a pronoun wrong or saying the name wrong, and being devastated that they have done, and somebody online being genuinely mean and malicious and calling you by the wrong pronoun because they want to, because they don't believe your emotions and they don't believe in your experience. And that's really important. And I think that is a problem on the internet with when we start going. And I also don't like that casual, well, just look it up on eBay. Oh, no, I'm sorry, on eBay. My brain's wrong today. Look it up on Google, like, just do it. Like, it's that kind of really horrible, dismissive attitude of like, you need to learn the new way straight away. And you were like, well, you don't want me to look on Google because I can end up anywhere on Google.
I found Breitbart.
Apparently you're not. You're not what you say you are. I've learned lots on Google. So so it's the idea of like, I don't like the dismissiveness and I understand, because again, anybody who thinks that they like us, like, oh, you shouldn't get offended because I get the wrong pronoun. It's like, think of anything in your life, like I'm trying to think of an example of something like people would call, I'm called Andrew, so people would call me Andy Pandy. It's not a big thing, but when it's the first thing that people say to you a lot, it starts grating on you a little bit. So imagine that amplified by people continuously getting you wrong pronouns all the time. I can understand why even in an innocent situation, someone would go, oh, because it's happening a lot of time. That's understandable, and I have no problem with that. But I think understanding intent and having both sides having empathy. Like, if you are a trans person, having empathy for people learning new ways and for struggling to remember things, because a lot of things are muscle memory. Like I was calling a guy who's called Barry. He was called Brian. I called him Barry for 2 weeks. Worked out. Then I was told that he's called Brian, and I still have to correct myself. And that was just 2 weeks of calling him the wrong name. That name's still in my mouth. So imagine if you've known someone your entire life. And I think with the non-binary, it is more difficult in the sense of, I think if someone transitions into a different gender, it's easier to go to drop on one side. But if you don't use they if you're not really using they in your day-to-day vernacular, then you're not going, oh, she, you go they. It's a very difficult one to go in. So I think that understanding on both sides. Anyway, we're going to run out of another meeting.
Benefit of the doubt is the lesson, really. Give people the benefit of the doubt. But